and let's make some fucking money.
There you go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Creative Businessmen. On this episode, we have Evan Williams in the studio with us. Evan is a very talented stand-up comic, actor, and creator, just an all-around great artist. And he's got some really big things in the works. He's done some big stuff, and I expect to see big things from him in the future. It was a really cool conversation. We had a really open and honest and vulnerable conversation with Evan. He told us a lot about his experiences in life, and we also found out that we're all from the same town. Evan is actually from the same town that Daniel and I are from, which was surprising and really cool. So we had some of the some similar experiences growing up, and but if you're interested in pursuing acting or stand-up comedy or any kind of art, then I think you'll get a lot from this episode, and I think you'll enjoy it. I know we did. Also, if you enjoy the show, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate the support. Also, be sure to leave comments in the comments section because we'd love to interact with you and also hear your thoughts on the show. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and here you go.
That is truly the difference between like being a 20-something-year-old jackass, and like getting a little older and like having a little more respect for people. Yeah.
And I feel like everybody in this room has grown a little bit. Since
a little bit, man.
Now,
let me ask you. So the best question is: have you ever gotten in a fight on the plane?
No. Brought it up. So. It does seem like I brought it up so that I could lay down the greatest fight of all time. But no, I've never gotten in a fight on an airplane. I don't think I've ever even like gotten in an I've done like the armrest thing.
That can be.
It resulted in just like at one point, just like because you do it without looking at each other, and you're fighting, and then at one point I just looked at him, I just turned my head and I just looked at him, and I didn't make any like gestures or words. I just looked. It's like look at me like a man. Like we can do this like children, but like we have 3 hours left, so like I'm not gonna do this forever. So look at me in the fucking face. Realize that I'm in the middle seat. You give me the courtesy of the armrest. Like you can lean out into the aisle. The other person can lean on to the fucking window.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm here in the middle. Give me this,
Yeah.
And that just did it in that scenario. Just looking at him.
Yeah.
Like you won't look at me. I'm gonna look at you.
Yeah.
I'll keep looking at you the whole time.
I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of that.
I mean, you just got to sometimes remind people that we're all fucking human.
Yeah.
I am also a person who had a morning today.
Everybody had.
I'm happy to think now that not because you're in an excellent physical condition. I had to Facebook stalk him, Instagram stalk him, actually, TikTok stalk him a little bit today, and peak physical fitness over here. So I'm glad to see that you have problems in coaching as well.
Man. No, it's definitely an issue. Those seats are too small for anybody. So I can understand you being a little more particular when you're booking a flight. Yeah.
It's funny that looking at the guy thing. A couple of years ago, my daughter was, I guess she was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and she was taking dance classes. And we were, and really they just kind of just play, like they do different little activities, and they try to teach them some coordination and
something
stuff.
At all, yeah.
And they were all out there like dancing in their little princess dresses and stuff, and this little girl walked up to my daughter and just smacked her right in the face, like right in the nose.
Yeah.
And it's the first time anybody has been mean to her. And she's like, "What just happened?" And then
as a jump from 0 to 1,000 too. It wasn't like a mean word. She was hit in the face.
Just right in the face. Right in the nose. And she looked at me, and then I just saw the tears, and then just and she came at me. I was like, "Come on, it's okay." And the little girl that hit her dad was standing beside me, so I took care of my daughter first, and then I was like, go back out and play. And I stood up and looked at the guy. Well, he did say something to his daughter, but he would not look at me, and I'm like staring at him. And he just will not look at me. I was like, dude, just apologize.
It's this thing with ownership, man. People can't take ownership for stuff. That's one of my biggest things is ownership. I was shooting a film in April, and there's all these COVID guidelines and stuff. Like in order to shoot the film, because we had some SAG actors on set, we needed everybody needed to be tested like a few days prior, and my producer had reached out to the actors and let them know that. And everybody was like, cool, I'll get tested, cool, I'll get tested, cool, I'll get tested. And then one guy said, I'm vaccinated. And I was like, hey, producer, I'm not going to say his name. I was like, it looks like actor doesn't understand that he needs to get tested. And he was like, no, he understands. And I was like, you sure about that? And he was like, yeah. So we got to set, and he showed up. That actor showed up, not having been tested. So now we're out an actor, and like you really need actors to shoot a film, you know.
Yeah.
And he just wouldn't take any responsibility for it, man. And like, and my poor actor, the COVID officer, made him go sit away from everybody else. So now he's like a child. Like he's like a child in timeout. And he's like sitting there sad. He might not get to act today. He came all the way from New York to New Jersey, and I noticed no one was going over and talking to him. Nobody was apologizing to him. My producer, I was like, what did I tell you, man? What did I tell you? He was like, that's his problem. That's his problem. He didn't understand. I was like, he's 70. Like, yeah, it's like you're emailing him. He's like, he's used to carrier pigeons. You know, like, let's talk to him. You should have gotten on the phone with him, man. And he was like, it's completely his. And he was always like, his fault. And like, so I just went over to Ned. I just said his name. I went over to actor, possibly named Ned, and I kneeled down and I was like, hey, man, my name is attached to this film, so this is my fault, and I'm so sorry. And you should have been called on the phone like a human being and told what you needed to do. I'm going to make sure you act today, you know? And everybody was just fumbling over themselves, and I just started calling like urgent cares and like, hey, what's your turnaround time? And one of them had a 15-minute turnaround time. And so we got him out to a clinic and we got him tested, and he came back and he acted that day. And it was only because one fucking person finally took responsibility. It wasn't even something I did wrong.
Well, the producer should have done that, actually.
No, of course, yeah. And
problem-solving issue.
And that's just me. Like, if I see that nobody's taking responsibility, I'll just take responsibility, even though it's not mine, which is like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I think
that's good. Yeah.
If nobody had, nothing would have happened.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing from knowing you that you learned kind of early in your life because you had to, right? Like you had to have ownership of a bunch of shit because you were a little out of control without it, right?
Yeah, nobody else was stepping in. Yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit of it right there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a sign of a great leader. There's many times I think I say some version of I don't need recognition, I just need the reward, so I don't need the credit for it. But then the other thing is I'll take responsibility because in some way, shape, or form, if I'm the top of the pyramid, then everything's connected to me in some way. Maybe I didn't explain it. Maybe I didn't set the proper expectation. Maybe I didn't properly train the people underneath me. Like there's some way that it links back to me. Mm-hmm. Even if somebody dropped the ball, that still means it's a reflection of me. I dropped the ball. So I still sometimes I struggle with it, but then I self-talk.
Is that ego the reason you struggle with it?
Man, I don't know. I think I get irritated sometimes repeating myself, but then I tell everybody else. This is what I tell everybody. I was like, you might as well plan on repeating yourself. That's what you're going to do for if you're somebody that gets things done, part of getting things done is reminding everybody else to do what they're supposed to do.
And stay on top of it.
And don't get upset about it. You should expect it. So then why am I getting upset with myself that I'm having to repeat myself? That I should just expect it. So I got to take my own advice. Yeah. So that's partly it is, I would have said something to producer. Mm-hmm. And producer goes, no, he understands. And then producer would have dropped the ball. And then I come back to the producer and go, hey, why didn't you do what I asked you to do, right? It's common sense.
Yeah.
And I can spend that energy. This is similar, your example, but I could spend that energy. But then the other side is I think what he did is the right move. I'll take ownership, and because you took ownership of it, and then you solved the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important.
Ownership, and someone in the room knows deep down that it's their fault. They can't say it out loud because their ego is getting in the way or whatever. But the person who messed up knows that they're the one that messed up. And then when you, in that same room, take ownership and you look over their face, they're pretty upset with themselves.
I agree.
Because at that point, they're like, man, that was something I was supposed to do right now.
Well, and this was your production, though, right?
It was, yeah. Me, this producer, and my director was also serving as producer. So there was three of us in charge of this thing. But a week before the film, my producer, which is very nice of him, was like, hey, you're acting in this. You've done a great job producing, but now I'm relinquishing your duties so you can focus on being an actor, And I was like, well, that's fantastic, because, I'll be in my head planning the film, and, acting, it's like getting out of your head, and it's being present and just listening. And so it was nice of him to do that, but then I saw this email, and I was like, hey, can I not be producer because I'm seeing this, and it looks like, and he was like, no, you're actor. And I was like, okay. And so when I got there and it was like that, it was like, well, I never should have not been.
Well, in typical leader fashion, you just led by example again. So like what you're saying is, hey, look at his face. But what I'm also hearing is that you showed him how to handle it next time he runs into this, because he may not have a you on set next time, so he's going to know a better way to handle it the next time it comes up.
And you know, maybe you see it a little earlier in that email.
Yeah,
you can see there's a little bit of miscommunication.
Yeah.
And also, though, it does suck to be in your situation in that situation, because you are an actor, and you're getting ready to do some scene work and stuff, and you don't want to have these negative issues to deal with when you're trying to make choices about something totally different.
Exactly.
About the project you're working on. So, it's very distracting.
Now, I don't want to jump ahead, but can you talk about what that project was yet?
Yeah, man. This was a short film. I mean, at this point, people are just going to be able to know exactly what I'm talking about.
We can always beep that name out. It's if you need to.
Go ahead and beep. Yeah, no, that's too much trouble. I have the most respect for this guy, and I would say all of this to him as well. So I mean, it's okay, and we're all square now. But the film, it's like a short film. It's called Nice to Finally Meet You, and it's a horror. It's a little thriller.
Oh, nice.
It's like 5.5 minutes. It's a short film, and we shot it in New Jersey with an actress friend of mine who's doing really well for herself. Her name is Andy Matichik, and she's in the new Halloween movies. She plays like
cool.
Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter in that. So she's like the new like final girl of those films, you know?
Yeah.
And she plays my girlfriend, and I'm meeting her family for the first time. But for me to really say anything more than that, it would be spoiling it. So something's fucked up. Like, you can tell right away something's fucked up.
Yeah. When does it come out?
It's either fucked up with me or fucked up with his family, but something's messed up. It just got into its first festival. We just started submitting. Like, the one festival that we would have even heard back from yet has said yes, and we've submitted to like 10 or 15. So we'll see which ones say yes, and we'll go to the best ones.
Nice.
And we'll have a premiere, either in New York or just online, depending on like people's availability and stuff. But we'll have like a little premiere. We'll show it to our friends. But with a film that you aim to get into festivals, you can't like just put it online,
right?
Because then the festivals are like, well, why would we? There's nothing to premiere. You've already done this. Like, you want them to have the honor of saying we discovered this film, you know. So it's that tough period with a film. Like, I just want people to see it. Like, you make stuff, you just want people to see it. You know. Yeah. But you got to do this weird dance.
But it's good that
for
if
a few months.
It's good that when they can see it, though, it has all these accolades on it, though. From the
festivals. Exactly. Yeah. And so it's a short film that we've also written the feature-length version of. So the short film is also kind of a pitching tool to get this feature made.
That's good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've done that a couple times with film. I did it with another film called The Recovery Call, and that one's on Amazon Prime. And it's just my favorite thing. You know, it's like you've already built this little world, and then like you jump into a script and expand on it, and you know, have these hopes of like jumping back into that character and shooting a long version of it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really good idea. So what was your childhood like, man? Like
man.
What led you to where you are today?
Where you from, Evan?
That's interesting. I think we're from like the same
around the same areas, I think.
Yeah, I'm from Randolph County. I'm from Asheboro, actually.
Me too.
You're from Asheboro?
Me too.
Yeah.
You guys are both from Asheboro.
I was going to tell
That's
you,
weird.
you actually look really familiar when he said your name, and then I saw you. 37.
37.
I got three younger brothers. My brother Chris is 34, I think. Mitchell's like 31, and Evan's 27.
I'm 32.
I'm 41.
Mitchell Story, Asheboro High School, or where'd you go?
How old are you?
41.
Did you go to Asheboro High School?
No, I went to Southwest Randolph.
Oh man, I was about to say you would have gone with my brother, man. My brother would have been.
Who's your brother?
His name was Noah Williams. He passed away
when
he was 28. I was 18. And yeah, he would have been 42, 43 right now. So you would have been in high school together if you went to Asheboro. But
well, I knew some people from Asheboro.
My childhood was Asheboro, North Carolina. My parents are from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and my dad got a job as the director of the North Carolina Zoo. So he was like the director of the zoo.
Wow.
And we also were in North Carolina because my brother was born with a disease called cystic fibrosis, and it's a lung disease, and it builds up fluid in the lungs, and you have to go to the hospital a lot to like get that fluid out. And when he was born in 1978, they gave him 18 years to live. Today, after a lot of research, after a lot of improvements in medicine, as of today, 2021, just a few weeks ago, the life expectancy was raised to 50, which is insane.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was like 45 last year, so it's growing and it's improving. And I actually work with that foundation, raising money and stuff, and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. But he was born with that, and the best hospital for that in the country is Duke. So that was why we lived in North Carolina, was to be close to Duke. And 11 years later, he wanted a brother, and which is hilarious. He was like choosing the gender, like you can do that. But he asked my parents to have another kid, and they did. And I'm Evan because of him. He asked that I be named Evan because he had a friend named Evan that he missed in Winston-Salem when they moved from Winston-Salem. And so I wouldn't be alive and I wouldn't be Evan without him. And he was my favorite guy ever, man. I grew up with him and my mom and my dad, and there were troubles at home, you know. I mean, any comedian, something was fucked up, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So people are like, what should I do to get in comedy? I'm like, go back in time and have a rough go, you know. No, it was everybody loved me, man. It was you know, my family loved me, but it was tough. And my mom was mentally ill, and my dad worked a lot. My brother was, you know, terminally ill, and but he didn't live that way. My brother didn't live that way. He did a lot, man. Like, you know, he's done more than me in his 28 years than I might ever do. I mean, he wrote a book, and he got his master's in psychology, and he you know, skydove over the Great Barrier Reef, and he bungee jumped naked in Cancun, and you know, he fucking did it, man. And it really made me from a very young age realize, first of all, how precious everything is, how important family is. You know, I never went to bed without saying I'm sorry if we got in a fight, or I love you. You know, like me and my brother's relationship was just fucking amazing because we knew that we're not. Most people don't realize they're not invincible until they're like, you know, 30. I don't know. Like, and I just knew that when I was like 7, and so, yeah, I had attention problems. I was a class clown. I got in trouble. You know, I wasn't good in school, man. I had trouble in school. I had ADHD, so I was like medicated, stuff like that. And as soon as I could abuse that medication, I abused that medication. As soon as I could drink, I drank. And as soon as I did, I realized how good that felt and how much it made me feel a part of with my peers. And so I drank hard, and I threw keggers every other day. You know, my brother would buy the keggers, and I was just 16 years old. You know, my parents had divorced. My mom was a wild person. That's who I was living with. So I was raging keggers every day, you know, as like a child. And so it was wild, and you can't really sustain that for long. I got into hard drugs pretty quick. It was like, you know, cocaine at 15 for a good 4 years. I just did cocaine just about every day, and didn't go to college, and realized I was just sitting at bottom. And I went to rehab at 19, and I don't need to just flatter my whole life on the table.
You're good, man.
But yeah, I went to rehab, and I got out. I relapsed a few times, and then I did it my way enough times to realize that my way was fucking garbage. And I finally started listening to some other people. And,
that's important, though. Yeah. That's
personally, it's this guy named Josh, and he was sober in this program, and he helped me out, and he showed me a new way to live, and I started working on myself, you know, and so I've been sober as of October 31st of this year for 13 years. So I got sober at 19 and finally stayed sober, and got into comedy when I was like 21. I met this fucking crazy guy, and he had a joke about toothbrushes. And,
oh, Jesus Christ!
You know, and he was at one of the first open mics I went to.
It was your second mic was my first mic.
Yeah.
You were the first person. You were standing on the corner of Elm Street as I walked across.
You walked
the street.
up with a girl or two?
Two girls.
Two girls.
Yeah,
that
my
he
wife.
was dating.
I said my wife and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he was like this fucking guy, and then they both walked up. He was like, "All right."
Yeah, and I immediately took to it and loved it, and I came in like 4th in a comedy competition here with garbage jokes, and was like, I'm amazing. I'm gonna move to New York.
You said you were gonna move to New York pretty shortly after that.
Yeah,
it was wild.
And
then you fucking did though.
I did. Yeah.
The amount of people who say they're going to do a thing and then never even get close to it.
Yeah.
The first time you said it, I knew it was crazy, but I also knew you were doing it. Like there was no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no question. I just knew you were going. I didn't know if you were gonna be good there.
No,
but
and I was not. I was not. It was bad for a while, as it should be. New York really makes you do something real, you know. And what I was doing was not real at the time, and so it just broke me into a better comedian. And I moved there with my wife, and we were there for 8 years. And I'd gotten some management and some agents and some acting roles. We were in the same show, FBI. Yeah. And
what episode were you on?
I was in season 2. It's called Salvation. I think it was like episode 9 or something like that.
Very cool.
I was like the guy in the episode. I was the guy that died, you know.
Yeah. I was basically the guy that died.
Yeah. And it's great, man. Were you in the autopsy room at any point?
No, I didn't really die.
You didn't?
I was the guy that died on NCIS New Orleans.
Nice.
But on FBI, I actually survived.
Nice.
I just went to prison for life.
Sick, dude. You could come back, man.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Prison break.
I can't come back on any show I've been on. I die. I get murdered brutally. Literally, like on The Americans, I was stabbed in the neck, and on FBI, they were standing over my body, and they were like, he was beaten with baseball bats and stabbed with machetes, mainly in the groin, is what they said. And I had to like not laugh and stay dead every time they said it. But I did some things like that, and I did some Comedy Central.
They had to not laugh.
They did laugh. They laughed like a lot. We actually had to like keep doing it.
That's hilarious.
That guy Zico Zaki, like the lead of the show. Yeah.
Fun dude to work with.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's fun. He's really like completely different off camera. Like like the second before the camera rolls, he's a different guy. But
how long were you in New York before you was Montreal the first?
That was the first big one. Yeah. There's this comedy festival called Just for Laughs in Montreal, and I went.
That's like when you're doing comedy. That's in my eyes. I mean, as a comedy nerd, and I think you are too. And we never really even talked about this shit. I don't think, because I think you don't like to brag about yourself. So you know what I mean. I just never ask you because I know you don't like. You get uncomfortable with it. But Montreal is when you just getting asked there is how you know you're doing the right shit. In my eyes, as a comedy nerd, that festival is like, hey man, you're on your fucking way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, taking me out of it because I am uncomfortable. Yes. I am. It was just what everyone was trying to do in New York. Like everybody was trying to go as a new face to Just for Laughs, and every year we would audition. And every year I was lucky enough to audition for like 4 years. I auditioned. I got a call back each year, and I killed all of my shows. But I just wasn't getting in, you know. And then this new booker jumped on the team, and I guess like every booker gets like a golden button, you know. Yeah. They're like, I don't care what the rest of you say, this person's going. Everybody gets one of those. And this woman, Hannah, she chose me that year. And
nice.
So, you know, like Jeff Singer, I can talk shit about him now. He got fired. He sucks. Mr. Fedora, he was. I think he was the one that was like kind of keep me from going for a few years. But it's all good, man. You go when you're supposed to go, and even then, like even when you go, like the next year, you're like, I wish I would have gone this year. Like, and people tell you that when you're auditioning for this, and you're like, fuck you, I want to go right now. You know, you're like, yeah, because you're arrogant and that's what you think. But like, you're gonna hate your jokes next year. Like you just always do. Like, and
you're always improving though too, right?
Exactly why.
Yeah, that's why you hate them.
Yeah. Because
you grow past
that. Was garbage, and I'm better now. You know, So that was like the first thing I got.
What happened after that for you?
Yeah, well, I got some agents from that, and so I was signed with like CAA, and
nice.
I also at that festival I saw a recording, like a live recording of Comedy Central's roast battle, and I just thought this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I want to be on this next season. And so when I went back to New York, I just started doing a lot of roast battles, and I did this one with my friend Scott. That is,
if you go on YouTube and you look up greatest roast battle ever,
I did not title it.
He didn't.
Heads
no,
up.
It was the Stand.
Evan called it that. No, what's that?
It was on the Stand's YouTube.
Yeah, it's the Stand's YouTube.
So I mean, they titled it, but it really is. It's you and Scott. You guys were like
Scott
really
Chaplin,
fucking close,
very
right?
Funny guy, man.
He's just like
we're best friends and
sweet boy.
Yeah, and it's just we just said awful things about each other, and we had both lost some people. You know, I had lost my mom and my brother and my aunt, and he had lost his dad and his uncle, and so we just shat on each other's families, made fun of death, and just all this. It was the darkest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was all from love. It was like from this place of love, and it was because we both knew that we'd been through shit, and that we love each other, and that we could say anything we want about each other. And then Comedy Central was like, "Oh, that's hilarious! You guys are going to be on the show," but they didn't book it right, and they, like what was happening in New York was great. It was like the best friends in the world were getting on stage and saying the worst things anybody's ever said about each other to each other, which is great because that's how shit talking works, you know?
Yeah.
You're allowed to shit talk me because I love you, you know?
Yeah.
And when Comedy Central booked it, they paired us with like strangers, you know? So it was like New York versus LA. They'd take a New York comic and put them against an LA comic. So it was people that actually did not like each other and didn't know each other.
Yeah.
I didn't meet Anna, like the girl that I roasted on the second episode I did, which is probably my worst roast bet. I mean, that's when I like bombed in front of Snoop Dogg in America. Yeah, that's definitely like, you know. I mean, like Snoop Dogg was like, I don't know what the fuck you just said, man. Like, it was fine. It was fine. I didn't like bomb.
What's
but
that?
That defeats the purpose of roasting.
It does, man.
Yeah,
I really believe it does, and I think they probably know that at this point too. But yeah,
What's that when you were doing pretty well at it and feeling good about yourself? That was giving you some momentum, and then you get that big opportunity, and then it doesn't work out. What's that? What's the next day like? What's the recovery process?
The next day is
eat that fucking humility.
Yeah, the next day is waking up at a hotel in LA and getting the call like, you don't have that hotel anymore. Like when you lose that in the competition, you're out of the hotel. So it's going to my buddy's couch and in LA for the first time. Never been there, and just being like, all right, well, that kind of fucking sucked. What did I want from this? Just to say I had been on TV, like, because I hadn't really been on like a TV show at that point. I had done like some MTV prank show that was on MTV International, which means like every country but this one. And so like, I hadn't done like an American television show yet, and I was like, all right, well, I did it. I did a fucking TV appearance. When people bring me on stage now, they can say you've seen him on Comedy Central. You know, is that what I wanted from this? Like, do I want to keep doing this? No. And I decided at that moment I didn't want to keep doing that. I had done the best I could do at it, which was me and Scott, and I had done it with all my friends. And at that point, and I wasn't a mean person. Like, I'm not a mean person. In fact, like, Comedy Central, they didn't really know what to do with us after that. Like, I had a meeting with Comedy Central. They were like, well, let's see your half hour. Maybe we can give you like a Comedy Central half hour. So I sent them a really good recording of a half hour of my stuff. And they were just like, oh, this is like kind of like positive. And like, and I was like, yeah, that's who I am. They're like, but you're so mean. And I'm like, no, I'm not actually mean. Like, I just doing that because I did it originally to get spots at the stand. Like, if you did well on those, Patrick the Booker would give you some spots, and that's really all I wanted. And then I wanted to do the TV show, but I was like, no. They're like, oh, we thought you were like a little Jeselnik. They even said little Jeselnik, which is a little offensive. All right, but they're like, we thought you were like a Jeselnik or something. I'm like, no, Jeselnik's Jeselnik. I'm Evan Williams. Like, I don't know. That's my fucking. Yeah. I talk about recovery and relapse and marriage and
Your
stuff.
album's great, by the way.
Thank you, man.
I heard it. Yeah, it's really
appreciate
good.
that.
Eric told me about it months ago, like a year ago, probably.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, it was really good.
So yeah, me and my wife were in New York for 8 years, and I did some stuff, and being on sets like Americans and FBI, I was like, oh, I want to make stuff, this is cool. Like, stand up is very like lonely and narcissistic, and it's nice to be part of something where there's 100 people telling a story instead of just one. And so I started writing some short films and producing some short films, and it costs a lot of money, those things, and so I just spent every dollar I had making this stuff because I just wanted to, and I love film, and so then it just seemed natural to move to LA. It was like I'd done the things. I got passed at the Comedy Cellar, and like I had done the things that you can do in New York. Let me try LA, and I moved to LA, in February of 2020. So, you know, that was fun.
In the car when it hits the news.
Yeah, man. And even like those first 3 weeks I was there, I had gigs each weekend. So I really only saw LA like 3 sets of Monday to Wednesdays, you know? Yeah. And then they were like, get inside, you fucking asshole. So I went inside, and I couldn't get on stage. I couldn't get on a set. And I was just, you know, in my marriage with a microscope on it, you know, in this little apartment in Hollywood. And I'm really grateful for the time I had with my wife, and that I had someone, you know, for that time. I don't know how I would have done alone. I don't know. But
how old were you guys when you guys met?
We were 11 when we met. Yeah.
Wow. And then you moved to LA.
Yeah, we met in middle school, high school. We started dating when I got out of rehab at 19, and I started. I was like, well, if I can't get on stage and I can't get on set, I'm just gonna start filming little sketches and stuff. So I just made these little sketches, and they blew up, you know. And
they're awesome, by the way.
Thank you, man. Really, appreciate it. Really you know, I never, because I'm a stand-up comedian, I have the back row of a comedy club in my head all the time, which are the comedians. That's who's in the back of the comedy club. Yeah. And they're shitting on who's on stage, and they're gossiping, and if you try something new, they're making fun of you for it. You know, not all comedians, but like we shit on each other and ourselves is what we do. And so that lives in my head as well. And so I have this row of comedians in the back of my head. And everything I do, they're like, you fucking gay, you know, like they're just like, you fucking loser, you know, and like, so I'm like, I want to try acting, like, you fucking gay, you know, and like, I constantly have these like these guys from another time period talking shit to me in my head, and
constant criticism.
Yeah, man, and so when I was like, I don't want to be the funny video guy, you know. That's like how it was. It was like, what am I gonna do? Make sketches? That's what I'm gonna do. And it's like if you just say any sentence with that tone of voice, it sounds bad, you know. It's like I need to write a script. It's like you can be the script writer guy, you know. It's like, and so I just everything I was saying, I just had these people, and so I finally fired them. I got them out of my head. I just fired them, and I was like, I'm just gonna make fucking video. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just fear, right?
And my friend Greg Stone was like, who cares? He was like, no one cares. When you scroll past a funny video yourself, what do you think? I'm like, I either laugh or I keep scrolling. He was like, right, you don't give a fuck, right? No one gives a fuck about what you're doing. So just do whatever you want to fucking do. Yeah. And so I just started doing that, and it paid off a bit. And I'm glad things are open now and we can make real film again and stuff like that. But it was nice during that time. And and I don't know if I love LA because I miss New York. I miss East Coast realness, you know, and I just I didn't get to see much of LA before the pandemic, and my marriage did end. And I haven't talked about this really publicly, but I got divorced like a few months ago. It's not like final yet legally, but I got divorced, and she's an amazing woman, a wonderful person, and we're still friends. And you know, we talked recently, and it ended with "I love you" and like I'm happy for what's happening in her life, and vice versa. But it did come to an end, and so there's been some big changes this year, you know. Yeah. And I think all for the better, but the transition is tough, you know.
Sure. Yeah. It's a big change.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. That was a lot, man. I just dropped a lot.
It's all good, man.
I usually tell people congratulations, but I'm not sure. I mean,
it's a congratulations. I mean, it's not a congratulations because anyone was doing a bad job, though. You know, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're just moving. If that's the right decision, congratulations on not hurting each other anymore.
Yes.
If that's what was going on.
Remaining civil, and you guys share a family, right? Her family was your family.
Yeah, and they always will be, man. Yeah.
It's good coming out of that as adults, man. It's so difficult to do, and making that decision for yourselves is admirable, honestly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, her family is amazing, and like, you know, she's Hispanic, and like, I started dating her like right after losing my mom, or actually right before I lost my mom, and like she didn't even get a chance to meet my mom. You know, it was like right then. Wow. And so I had lost my mom, and my brother, and I started dating her, and her family just took me in, man. Like, I mean, her mom is my mamita, you know. Like, they just filled me with tamales and love and jarritos and loved me, man. And I'll always love them. They're like the most special people, and they don't fight with each other, and that house doesn't make sense to me. You know, growing up the way I grew up, like it's just so kind, and they're so incredible, and I'll always be on their team, man. Like they're just the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said something really important earlier too about when you were young and out of control, that you came to a realization that you were heading down the wrong path, and you made a choice to make that change. And I think that's important with a lot of people that have issues with alcohol abuse or drug abuse or whatever. It's a choice they have to make to change that path or change their life. Because I know when I was like 20, I was getting out of control, drinking all the time and partying a lot, and I remember having that realization with myself. Had a really crazy night. It was probably like 4:30 in the morning, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was like, dude, you gotta make a choice right here, because if you stay on this path, something really bad is going to happen to you. Because I just knew where I was headed.
And how old were you said?
20. And
yeah.
I didn't drink for 5 years after that night.
Damn.
And the guy I was partying with that night, he's dead now.
Wow.
So it was a good choice.
Yeah, man. So many of the guys that I did stuff with.
I didn't stop till about 25.
Yeah.
You were going pretty hard.
I mean, I go hard now just without all the bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we partied. Did you ever go to? You remember Daniel's Field, or the field off of, what was it, 42 or 49?
Yeah, man.
I think you and I partied. I'm sitting here. It's been eating me up since yesterday.
I'm
think almost
so,
positive.
Man. Can you just, like, I don't know, some of the names that I would name are like criminal, you know?
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't,
yeah.
I mean,
We'll do it after the pot.
There's a guy, I guess I won't say his last name. There's a guy, Logan. He killed a couple people. He's in jail now.
Yeah, I know Logan. I know a couple others, and then
I think so, man. You do look familiar.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, and I was hanging out with people like older than me as well.
100%. I was gonna say but there were some activities that I was partaking in that you mentioned, and I was like, it's very possible.
Yeah.
How wild is it to think, 16, 17-year-old Evan and Daniel, you guys, and now here you are, you're sitting here, you know what I mean? It's a crazy life.
Yeah.
You said you're 32?
32, yeah.
16. Oh, yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 100%. Yeah, it's very possible.
This would have been like 04, 05,
100%,
06. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That field, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is it called Daniel's Field because it's your field?
No.
Okay,
They renamed it.
I called it Daniel's Field. I don't know whatever. Bonfires and stuff like that. There was a couple of spots. You look so damn familiar. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure we did some.
I think so.
Caused some chaos.
I was hanging out with some wild people. Man.
I don't know that it was him and I necessarily. Like, I think it was we
proximity.
had mutual friends and we were in the same facility.
How old were you when you moved to Asheboro?
I was born in like Greensboro Hospital, but I grew up in Asheboro.
Okay.
I was raised in Asheboro.
Wow.
My parents moved to Asheboro like 2 or 3 years before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah,
my dad's family's lived there for like 250 years. Or something.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like before it was Asheboro, or before it was the United States, I think.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like right before the Revolutionary War.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like I think they got the land from the French Tories.
That's crazy.
They had a gristmill over in Uari Forest. Yeah, they were Quakers. Yeah,
It comes from gristmill money.
Yeah.
You are old.
Oh, there was no money.
Just a lot of grist.
It's all grist.
That's amazing, man.
That's
crazy.
What do you? So you're here in town for a little while now. And, what do you got going on? What's the plan, man? You thinking about anything?
Thinking about too much, man. I just shot another little short film as well in Atlanta like a few weeks ago. That's being edited right now, and we're trying to make that into a feature. And we've got like some pretty big names in it, like not big names like Hollywood names, but like internet people, like this guy Brody Wellmaker and this girl Call Me Chris. They have like these like giant followings on like TikTok and Instagram.
Neil, you remember that I showed you a TikTok? I said it was one of the greatest commercials I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
that
was her. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. She's a really cool person. So we're gonna make that into a feature, and I'm just finally doing stand up again. I hadn't done it for like 6 months. And,
you were a little out of it. You weren't in love with it for a little while.
No, man. I stopped loving it before the pandemic, and I honestly, like, the pandemic happened, and I was like, cool. You
Yeah,
know,
same.
I mean, not cool about a worldwide pandemic, but just like it was nice
To get a break.
not do stand up and not look at pictures of people doing stand up nonstop, because that was tough, you know,
Right.
because then it was the FOMO set in, and like I felt like a piece of garbage for not doing it. And then when everybody was not doing it, I was like, great.
There's a nice excuse to not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
taking that pressure off myself to get off the fucking road.
Yeah.
And, man, I tell you, it's one of the best things that's ever happened.
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And
I had
so-
to figure out who the fuck I was, you know?
Yeah. Everybody, you know, but some people didn't, man. Some people, like,
Yeah.
they just went into hibernation, and then when the gates opened, they just went right back to...
And that's good.
And that's good. Yeah, that's fine for them, man. That's like, I mean, some of them are just like comedy purists and they're amazing at it, and that's like perfect, you know. And then some of them are just, they went right back to like kissing the rings of bookers and like, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm done with it. I'm never gonna do that. Like, I never have, and I never will. And
we talk a lot about that, actually. Neil, you know, talks about gatekeepers and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons we started that they started this studio and that I'm here is, you know, to kind of circumvent that shit. And, you know, if you're a talented person, asking other people who are less talented if you can be talented isn't fun.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah.
I
That's
started
why I
in
produce
acting.
films and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I started in acting and then found comedy through acting.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy comedy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them both.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about about comedy is it's my writing. It's my ideas that I'm sharing. It's like I'm able to share good ideas in fun packages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I enjoy it. But I haven't. I'm still an open micer. I'm not. You know, I've been doing it for 2 years, so I haven't really been on the road or anything like that. I need to start reaching out, I guess. But it's that same thing, though. I don't want to. You know, what path do you go, and what opportunities are worth it? You know, because I'm not doing it for money, obviously. But but and also, you know,
Obviously, because there's none to be had,
Right,
really.
Yeah. There's very little. I mean, for a live performance, you know what I mean? And until you're in the theaters and selling out the clubs that give you bonuses when you sell them out and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough. It's this thing, man. Like, when we were kids, I saw someone with like a half-hour special, and I was like, well, that guy's a millionaire.
Yeah,
You
he's
know
a
what I mean?
god. He's a
Like,
millionaire.
that guy has $1 million, you know? And then you learn that, like, that guy probably got paid after taxes $9,000. You know
Maybe.
what I mean?
Yeah.
In the 90s, like 90s Comedy Central Presents specials, he may have gotten like $7,000 like after everything.
He slept in a vehicle 6 months
Absolutely.
before or after that special.
Absolutely. Probably both, man. Because he's really excited to have $7,000 and he spent it real quick, went right back to the vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like now if you're at the level where it makes sense to make a special, you should produce it yourself and put it on your own channel. You'll make more money.
Yeah.
And
I
you'll
think
probably
so,
get
man.
more views and have no
More
restrictions.
views. Yeah. Like I like Comedy Central Roast Battle, right? That show on average, at least season 2, which I did, got like 500,000 viewers. That's insanely small, man.
Yeah.
Like, I make a video and it gets like, you know, a couple million, and it's like, it's easy to get views on TikTok. It's easier to get them there than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it's not like that huge of a deal, but like, it's also kind of a big deal, man. I
It's
mean,
a
there's
lot
like
of eyeballs.
there's a lot of eyeballs, and like I've never had those eyeballs before on like anything. You know what
And
I mean?
those eyeballs turn into support.
Those are fans.
Yeah, they become fans who support other things that you do. Hopefully, and even if it's just a
Hopefully.
fraction of that, a small bit of a lot.
Definitely is just
lot.
a fraction.
Have you seen that in
fraction-
your stand-up audiences? Have you asked, like,
I haven't really had a chance to see yet. I'm getting back into stand-up finally, but because of that, I started with like opening for my friend Mateo, you know, so it's like, let me just do like 25 minutes and like, you know, I'm not quite ready to jump in and do like 50 minutes right now, you know, as my first set back. And so I did a couple weekends with him, like in San Francisco and Kentucky. And then finally, like, I'm, you know, doing a little headlining set this Friday, the 17th at the Idiot Box tomorrow. And
I'll be there.
Thanks, man. And then I'm doing, like, in January, I've got some co-headlining stuff. So I will see, like, who comes out, you know, because I'll be in Minneapolis and Chicago, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, man.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. I think that there's not much with TikTok. Like TikTok is just they make me laugh right here while I'm taking a shit.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't care who you are. Thank you. And I don't think that they'll actually come to shows. I don't know. I really don't think they actually come to shows from TikTok. But Instagram,
that's not you know, saying there's not much there, fine, but you do have to be good at it to be good at it. Right. It's not an easy thing, you know. And you know, I know. Fact of the matter is that my kids know you and have met you, and they still now they see you on TikTok and they're like, holy shit, Evan's fucking fantastic. Like they, you know, it went from sweet, knowing that you are Evan to like being fans of Evan. You know what I mean? So it is amazing.
When I went through my history and I watched some of your TikTok stuff, what's funny is I stumbled across the credit card. Credit card and I had seen it. I actually had liked it previously, like it showed, and I'm like,
oh shit,
when did I see this? Right, and like I vaguely remembered it, and I was like, holy shit, like I've actually already seen this. It already came through my suggested.
You know, it's funny, man. I bet that showed up for you, and I bet you liked it because I like shoot a guy at the end of it, like the first, because there was a lot of gun guys, man, who like would come in the kind of like, hell yeah, we should have that. We should just shoot him next time, man. And I just,
that's probably why I got suggested to me. Actually.
Yeah, I really think so, man.
I love that series, man. It's so
oh, thank you, man. It's a weird one, you know. That's my weird one, and like if people like that one, you're my favorite. You're my favorite.
That's my shit.
It's great, man.
I watched a bunch of them because of that.
So strange, you know. Yeah. No, thank you, man. Thank you.
Jason,
I also have
Jason
guns.
Banks.
Like I'm not like a anti-gun guy. I have guns myself. I've had 3 guns. I have 2 now.
Yeah. You know who Jason? I think it's Jason Banks on TikTok.
Yeah, he's funny.
Let me look. He
does the character that's his son, and then his son's
his face is like.
Oh yeah. I know him. Yeah.
It's like
really
different versions of his. Yeah. So anyway, what I was getting at, you were saying, you know, TikTok. I don't know what I'm trying to use the word, but let's say I send out 1,000 postcards and my response rate is 1%, right? Or what, 10 people? So maybe there's some response rate on TikTok, like for every 1,000,000 views, maybe you get 20 people that would show up. I don't know what that number is, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point of this is that I was looking at Jason because I was like, you know what, I'd love to see this guy live, and he was in Tampa. I don't know if you remember I was telling you about it, and he sold out like immediately. So I agree. But I think if you get, and you're pretty large, but I think as you get large enough, even if it's 1% of those people would be interested in seeing you,
massive.
Yeah, it starts. You start to get, because like I was wanting to go, and then literally as soon as it announced, it was sold out before I could. I mean, within hours.
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't there 5 minutes in, but I was there 3 hours in trying to get, and it's sold out.
Yeah.
What's cool too is your content is actually real content. A lot of the stuff on TikTok is just nonsense.
Yeah.
Nonsense, man. It's lip syncing something else, or
stealing other people's content.
Stealing
a lot of that.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
And dude, there's this new thing where like they don't even call it stealing. Like they just say, "Oh no, I was inspired by it." You know, like I'm jumping in. It's like a trend. He created a trend. It's like, no, it's not a trend. Like people will just do my credit card fraud report. They just did it like word for word, and I would reach out to them because they would get like 1 million views, and I'm like, hey man, that's my shit. Like that's like those are my views. Like this is a series I'm doing. Like I'm gonna do more of these, and now you just did this random episode starring someone else.
Can you flag it?
I luckily had friends that were fucking, you know, crazy enough to like, I'll fucking whip your ass, man. But like fans just, you know, being like, hey, this is Evan's idea. Like, what are you doing? But there's a lot of other comments just like, get over it, man. Like, this is TikTok. This is what we do here. Like, and like people who like, were just fans of that guy. And like, he did my idea, and I was like, this is my idea. And he was like, oh, I know. I loved it. So I did my own. And I'm like, that's not like if somebody got on stage and it was like Hot Pockets and we're like, what the fuck was that, man? That's Jim Gaffigan. Like, I know, I love Jim Gaffigan and I'm just doing Jim Gaffigan. Yeah, and it's like their Netflix special. Like it's insane to me. Yeah. But it's because I came from stand up, and like these people didn't come from stand up. They didn't have any rules, man. Right, they just like came from high school, and like they and this thing started where we talk about trends, you know, and like. There's these dancing trends, and there's all these sorts of trends, and so they see a funny sketch and then they do one, and I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, I'm jumping on your trend. I'm like, it's not a trend. It was an original sketch that you stole.
It is an interesting thing coming from stand up where, you know, the amount of work you put in to create 5 minutes, and you're know, you understand this now.
Oh yeah,
it's
it's tough.
People think, oh, it's 5 minutes to create 5 minutes. It's it's decades. To not only have the material but learn how to craft it and have the experience.
And it's constantly evolving.
Yeah. And you see the 5 minutes that is their 1,000th 5 minutes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't see the first 5 minutes they had that were bombing at every fucking like bowling alley that allowed them to perform.
Because it wasn't ready.
You know?
So for you to come in and take the 5 minutes that I finally cooked.
Yes.
Right.
Finally, You
know, it's with TikTok, it's funny. It's a Chinese-owned company.
Yes.
And in China, the algorithm shows people like it'll show like kids or just everybody. That shows them people do it like achieving things. Like it shows people like doing science projects or like different science topics or technology, and it just all these things about learning and improving and self-improvement.
Yeah.
And here it's just all nonsense. So it's good. Like somebody like you is actually a real creator creating something of substance. You know, it's cool that people can see that. But it's another thing too is talk about people stealing or copying your stuff on TikTok. There is I've talked about it here before. I think all art is it's expression, right? But it's not always. Certain individuals have the ability to express ideas better than others, and all of our art, anyone who creates art, they're expressing really ideas of millions of people, and the people that are the best able to express those ideas are like creative volcanoes, like just so like when I see art, it's like it's almost like us talking to ourselves through that individual, and so there is a thing where there's a thing where like with music. And different types of art where as our population grows globally and as we get more and more connected, it's going to be harder to deal with copyright issues because so many things are overlapping. Yeah. So there should be a system set up where the algorithms automatically credit the original artist, or at least give you the proportion or the portion of the credit deserved based on whatever's being used. Almost treat everything like remixes. So like if someone's remixing your art, they can get a little credit.
But in parentheses, featuring the original idea.
And then any monetary credit, at least a large portion of it would go to you. Right. So then we're all sharing each other's art and creating more art, and more ideas will come out of that because I think that's important. But at the same time, you're not stealing from people.
Yeah. Just like a rapper, like, sampling Fleetwood Mac.
They're the best at it.
Yeah. I mean, that would be brilliant if they can work that out somehow. Because this current thing everybody's doing is blasphemous, dude. I mean,
it's horrible.
It's so crazy, and it really was fucking me up there in the beginning. I mean, just like I get no idea, somebody would just do it. Like I did the Mad Lib thing, and somebody just immediately did it, but like with a different movie, and I was just like, what? Is this? They're like, you trend. And I'm like, it's not a trend. It's just it's a sketch. It's something I'm doing. It's a series that I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild, dude. It's wild. But
that's funny.
You just have to realize you have to find some acceptance, that like, well, this is the playground I'm in on this specific app.
Yeah, I saw somebody doing it with a violin over like the Alps or something, and the guy that actually recorded the music was sitting there with his violin, like still no credit. Like 50 million views, still haven't given me credit. You stole my, like literally he said stole it, like, so it's the guy's faking playing the violin over the Alps, and it's the guy that actually did it.
That's a perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just a sad violin over, you know what I mean? Like, I literally playing a violin for all the people that have been stolen from. It's crazy. People even like would wear masks. And they didn't even have to like memorize my lip movement. Like they would have a mask on and they'd go like, they like bop their head around with my words. Like they'd use my audio, and I'd go in the comments and people were like, "You're a genius. This is so funny. Like you're a genius." And like it would have like 700,000 views or something. And I'd be like, "This is baffling, man. This is like an episode of Black Mirror." Or
Do they not have an algorithm on TikTok that knows it's your?
They do. Yeah, the thing is they do. It's not so much an algorithm, but they have a tool where like if there's a funny video, you can use the sound. And so at the bottom,
so they're
duetting me. They're duetting my sound. They're taking my sound and they're lip syncing over it. And so at the very bottom in little tiny letters, it says, original sound Evan Williams. But people are also stupid. Like just the people scrolling are also stupid.
Yeah, they're not looking.
So
at that.
even if like they use the sound, they don't credit me in the caption, but they use the sound. People will. So then I'll be like, "What the fuck, man? All these people think this is you." He'd be like, "Hey, man, I used your sound, you know." And so really, I can't even be mad at that guy. I just had to be mad at like everyone, like you know, like. And so I just had to throw.
Well,
my
isn't
hands
that
up.
what China wants?
I think so.
They want us to be mad
They
at
want us to be
everyone.
mad.
Well, they want us getting distracted on TikTok while they're using TikTok to teach their nation.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're
That sounds-
pissing us off. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a bunch of them over there learning how to play the fucking violin. You know?
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah.
When you say you throw your hands up, is that just a place you had to get to in your head where it's like, all right, there's nothing I can do about it, I got to move on with my life type of shit? Or are you still a little... Is it...
I guess I just stopped looking as much, and I just post my stuff and
That's important,
see
right?
what happens with it, and
Don't look
and-
down.
Yeah, and also just like, all right, well, try and do things that are so weird or original to me or hard to do, like to lip sync me doing a Mad Lib. It would be very difficult for somebody to do that.
Yeah.
Be like learning an Eminem song, you know, like. And if you can learn my Mad Lib, dude, like when I'm talking like as fast as this, I'm like, give me another example, and like I'm talking that fast, and for like a full minute nonstop words, then like you deserve something. Like I don't know what it is. Like, you don't deserve the credit of having written it, but you deserve something. And I've actually never seen anybody do that.
Yeah.
Nobody, because they're lazy. Like people who
Well,
don't
now I'm
have-
going to do it.
Yeah, please.
I kind of learned that with comedy. People start stealing jokes or whatever, and then what I realized is like, dude, if you can steal my joke about being raped as a kid, then you fucking tell that goddamn thing.
Yeah.
You go ahead. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if
yeah.
you just make it so fucking personal, so
Exactly.
weird about you,
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, your emotions aren't going to be behind it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd lean into it. That way people know, and then your own fans come. Because it's like if you tried to steal Eminem shit now, like everybody's going to call you out on it, right?
Right, yeah.
And it's not as impressive. And I think if you just lean in, those are some of the things you're known for, your own fans are going to come to your defense too.
Have
Yeah.
you had someone accuse you of stealing their stuff?
That's so funny.
And then they realize yours was posted 3 months
Yeah,
before theirs.
exactly.
Yeah.
That has happened where like someone's like, so and so did this first, and I'm like, so and so did that after I did mine first, and that just came up in your algorithm before you saw mine,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was just insane. I mean, that to me is like when life feels like Black Mirror, you know,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
just feels like this weird technological apocalypse is happening. But I mean, for me to claim that like my little weird problem like that is one of the big problems in the world right now is like it's crazy. You know what I mean? This is all silliness. It is an app called TikTok. Like, just fucking get over it, man. And so that's part of it too. And like if I were to die tomorrow and it's like TikTok star Evan Williams, you know, I would come back and haunt everyone. Like I don't want that.
But only
I don't
in
want that to
60-second
be my
increments.
legacy, man.
It's not the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make film and I want to make stuff that actually like. And then don't get me wrong, like man, the amount of messages I've gotten that are like, you know, anywhere from like, hey man, I was in a surgery and like I had to just kind of be cooped up in a hospital bed for a few weeks, and your videos got me through that. Like shit like that, man. One guy was like, I'm a veteran and like I'm struggling with PTSD and no one in my life understands, and so they just tell me to suck it up. And like I don't know how to explain to you that your videos help me, because none of your videos are about what I'm going through. But for some reason, you're like speaking this thing subliminally to me that made me more okay, and it made me okay with getting help. And not only am I thanking you, but my daughter that doesn't even know that she almost lost her dad thanks you.
That's awesome.
If she
man.
could know that you helped me not kill myself, she'd thank you.
Yeah.
And like I was bawling, man. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
to me.
you
Well,
know, I can speak to that a little bit. You know, as somebody who's wanted to fucking kill myself
Same.
a bunch, and seeing people who are creating and kind of have a positive mindset makes a difference. And sometimes even just a fucking dick joke, a free giggle, you know, is a distraction from whatever weight you're carrying that day. And so that does exist, man. And good for you for doing that, and good for that guy for messaging out, man.
Good for that guy, man. Yeah, it meant the world to me.
I tell you, I get default to comedy at night.
Yeah.
Like if I'm stressed,
Yeah.
we're high stress, high whatever, and like that's how I help shut it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'll zone out in comedy, and like the ones like is it Vince Vaughn? I think Vince Vaughn, yeah. Like that was one of my go-tos for years.
He had a special with a bunch of different comics on HBO.
Yeah, the Wild West comic.
Wild West,
something like that.
I don't know why, man, but for a while that was like my go-to. But like sometimes I get in this, the algorithm gets me, but I get in these TikTok comedy, and I'm loving it. Like I'm like, and
it's
next
doing
thing,
its job.
Yeah, next thing you know, like 45 minutes has went by, and I'm like, all right, get to bed.
It is a black hole too. Like time goes by, and I guess that's why it's called TikTok.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. But for me, it's horror for some reason, man. I just like horror helps me turn things off, and it's like
you guys have that in common.
Yeah, I love horror stuff too.
I love horror, man.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
I always
thing
liked
in the
being
world.
scared when I was a kid.
Me too. Yeah.
You should have lived in my house.
Yeah. I didn't want the real scaries. I wanted the fake scaries.
My house got scary sometimes.
Yeah, mine too. But something about turning something on and a monster is like ripping someone in half. Like I'm just like, well, fuck, my problems are not that bad, you know. And everything's resolved in an hour and a half, and it's over the top and it's gory, and I know that it's not real, and it makes me hate characters, and then I get to see those characters die brutally, and it makes me love a character, and I get to see that character be the one that survives, and so I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I'll survive this hellhole, you know, and I just love horror, man. I can't even fully explain why I do. One of my favorite directors right now is this guy Mike Flanagan. He he's so good, awesome. Man. He directs a lot of like Stephen King adaptations and Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep, and he did like The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix and stuff like that.
He did. Did he do that Mirror movie?
Yeah, Oculus.
That was good too. Yeah,
that was great. Yeah. He did a movie called Hush.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, you know your horror, man.
Yeah.
Your T-shirt is quite a great horror film as well.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
One of mine too.
The Thing, John Carpenter.
You know, I've never seen The Thing. I know.
Dude, you got it.
He just paid you a compliment about being a horror buff, and then
I need to walk in the hole, man.
So much content, man.
What's that?
There's so much stuff to watch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, you got to watch The Thing, man. That's the one
you
got to watch for sure.
Yeah.
It's so good, but. Flanagan, he was putting it well because he does a lot of haunted house stuff, and he was like, well, I just love that because he was like, I was not scared of my house as a kid. Like my house was my safe place. Like he's like, I had like a good home, you know. And so I think when you go see a movie and it's like, don't go in the water, Jaws, and or it's like, don't go camping, Blair Witch. He was like, when you leave the theater, you're safe. You're not in the water. You're not in the woods. You're home at your comfy house. But haunted house movies make you afraid to go home afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
And that's fucked, and and not only that, but your house is haunted. Everybody's house is haunted with memories. And there's ghosts in your house. As a father, you're looking at your hallway and you see if you have a 3-year-old daughter, you see your 1-year-old version of that daughter crawling through that hallway. You're like, oh man, I remember when she was 1, and your house is haunted by all these memories and stuff, and
it's fascinating. Yeah.
And so twisting that, and now it's haunted by evil shit, and and if something was gonna possess you, if something was gonna get you while your guard was down, it's gonna be at home while you're sleeping, and so I love that about haunted house movies, and that's all Mike Flanagan talking. He's a genius. He's an actual master of the genre. But
and haunted house movies are great.
They're great.
They've always been great.
Always loved them. Yeah.
Yeah, like 13 Ghosts or
The
Haunting of Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House, man.
House
on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill is a great one.
The original with Vincent Price is a classic.
Even The Frighteners was fun.
I love Frighteners, yeah.
It was
Peter
good
Jackson before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's great. We just go on like this for 7 hours. Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
I could talk about horror forever.
We had a 5-minute segment on the podcast a while back about how Daniel and I aren't allowed in haunted houses, like actual haunted houses, because we have physical reactions to people scaring us. So.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Do you I
haven't been one in a while. I can't remember exactly. I always say 10 years, but then I realize I'm older. I think the last one was somewhere around 20 years old. So
is that something you do?
17 years ago.
Do you like being scared in?
Love it.
In haunted houses or right up your alley?
I love it. Yeah.
There's
Do they touch you when they're doing it? So this is where the scare part is part of it. Jump out and
There was one in New York. It's called like Blood Manor or something like that. And if you wanted to be touched, they drew an X on your forehead.
No shit.
And if you had an X on your forehead, then the actors, knew that they could like touch you and stuff. And so I got the X on my forehead, and like I went in just immediately, like just like grabbing me. One woman grabbed me and she dragged me by the hair, and she opened a locker and threw me in the locker. And then closed the locker, and like a guy came out with like a chainsaw and was like sawing the locker and stuff.
I'd be like,
and I started like, licking my forehead. Yeah. No, I was like, this is perfect. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're probably the same way. If I go to a haunted house now, it doesn't do anything. Like it's fun, and if I can get,
I wish it did more.
If they can make me jump, I'm like, oh, that was a good one.
Yeah,
but
I don't go. I just don't go.
It's just so many techniques. Like I go to haunted houses every year, and you gotta just wait. Like after a group goes, just like ask the guy letting people through, like, can I wait like 5 minutes? Like I don't want, because if you get in the back of a group, then like somebody jumps out, blah, and then they go back to their corner, and then by the time you get up there, you're like, blah, you're fucking there, and so it's good to either be the very front of the group or to be by yourself, like you and your date or whoever, like to be by yourself. So that's a big part of it, and there's haunted attractions that are insane. There was one in New York called Blackout, and you had to sign a waiver. You like sign a waiver that you're okay with being waterboarded and
how did that work?
Yeah, I mean they sign a waiver, and they were waterboarding people and shit like, and it's just like a very immersive experience where like you're like someone is like a heroin addict, and they make you put like a syringe into their arm and stuff, and it's like a retractable needle, but like really fucked up stuff. And I was reading an article about it by a guy who like had PTSD, and he was like, I've been like sweating for like weeks, and like I'm at the office and someone was like, hey, you want some water? I'm like, it just really fucked people up.
Probably shouldn't have went.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
There's a lot of ones like that.
You said waterboarding, and it gave me a flashback to when I visited New York. Didn't we do a comedy show and they waterboarded you at some?
No, they didn't waterboard me, but they did. They tied me up and they put a bag over my head. That was It was called See You in Hell.
That's right.
Doug. God damn, I can't remember.
It's this. As I remember, it was this show we did. It was at Creek in the Cave.
Yeah,
and it was like 7 sorts of torture they would do. So there was 7 comics, and every comic would have a certain type of torture.
Yeah,
and I remember you being. I remember this picture. You on stage in a chair with your hands tied behind your back and a bag over your head. And I don't remember what the torture they gave me was, but I
what was yours?
Somebody came out. He was like, this
were you the whiskey bear?
I don't know. He was like flopping his dick around or something. And I just started talking about being molested as a kid, and he stopped it. It was great.
I feel like I should stop doing it.
I was impervious to it. You couldn't look at it.
Yeah.
Eric's torture was being at that show.
No, I love that show. That place was
Doug Smith and Matt Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
They hosted it. It was called See You in Hell. And you would get a hell to experience.
Yeah.
And like one of them was like Edward Forty's hands. So like you had to finish 2 40s in the middle set. One was the Whiskey Bear. That's like they could never give that one to me, because I'm sober.
Guy,
but that was usually the most fun to watch because you had to drink like 7 shots.
Whoa.
Dressed as a bear.
That's fun.
During your set.
I did.
How long was your set?
Like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh. And I had Guantanamo Bay hell.
That's what it was.
Is what it was called. And so they like tied me, and there was like
the
a bag
night
over my
before
head.
that. I did the naked show.
Yeah.
I did. I think I did 45 minutes just naked on stage.
Jesus. Yeah. 45.
Yeah, I went long.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's wild, man. I forgot the other ones I got in there. One was like Cheese Whiz. You just had to just house Cheese Whiz the whole time. They give you like a can of Cheese Whiz hands. They always just tape stuff to your hands, and you had to consume it while you were doing comedy.
Do they still do that show?
I don't know. I hope so. At one point, it moved to UCB. Post pandemic, I don't think I've seen anything about it. I don't know if they still do that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you did a ton of weird shows. You did a bunch of good ones too. Then what was it when you got past the cellar? Mm-hmm. What was that like? I mean, crazy, man. We come from where we come from, and we both were huge comedy fans. And the cellar that's these goddamn motherfucking spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
New York.
I mean, in the world, dude.
Oh.
I mean, the Comedy Cellar is, that's it. It's there, and it's the store in L.A.
It's the number one comedy club in the world.
It's the number one comedy club
yeah.
in the world, period, right? And I mean, to get past there and be a regular is...
I had no idea. Yeah, I didn't even think I would ever, like, ask someone to recommend me to that club. You know, you got to be recommended by, like, 2 people to the booker. This little woman named Esti. She's a very mysterious Israeli woman, you know, and she watches you on a Friday night at 11 p.m. for 5 minutes, and if she likes you, she'll go up to you afterwards and tell you you're passed. And if she doesn't, she just won't look at you ever again. She just won't even look at you, you know. And I was horrified of that club. I didn't think I would ever be there. And
it's intimidating, man.
Yeah, and then my friend Mateo Lane, he was there with Michelle Wolf, and they both were just talking, and Michelle was like, "How come Evan's not here?" You know, and they were like, he was like, "I don't know," and she was like, "Well, we should recommend him," and he was like, "Okay," and she was like, "We'll approach Esty at the same time, and tell her at the same time," and so they did that. So she got like 2 recommendations at once for me, and so she was like, "Have him send me." Or have him send you a clip of him doing stand-up, and Mateo sent it to me. And Mateo sent it to her, and she just said, "I like him," you know? And she was like, have him email me. And so I just emailed her, and she just gave me a spot. And I was like, this is on a Saturday. The auditions are on Fridays, you know? And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to do a Saturday spot. And so I prepared 5 minutes because that's what auditions are. And I got there, I looked at the lineup, and it was just a regular spot. And
wow.
So she just passed me off of like a tape, which
Well, at that point, I mean, you know, Mateo was doing pretty well. He was on some late night spots and all that. And Michelle Wolf, from Pretty Positive, that's when she had her Netflix thing going.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It may have been the HBO.
Oh yeah.
Special first, the Nice Lady special, but yeah, it was nice of her, man. And I got in there right away, and
So how many years was that before you got passed at the Cellar?
In New York.
Probably like 7 years, 6.5 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
And I got passed there, and I went there, and I sat at the table, you know, and like it's the table, you know, it's this little tiny like chalkboard top table you can like draw on. And
when you walk into the Cellar, and if you watch comedy at all over the history of your life. There is a little when you walk into the cafe upstairs,
cafe above the comedy
there
club.
is a table off to the right hand side in the corner, and that is where the legends have always sat and talked shit to each other and broke each other's balls, and it's just like it's a magical. If you're a comedian and you sit there, you are a comedian.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean?
I got to do an open mic there when I was in New York in March 2020, the week before the lockdown.
Really?
Yeah.
I had like a back procedure.
Yeah.
And before I did my back procedure, I did a little open mic at the Cellar.
Yeah.
It was cool. It
It's
was like
a cool
five. There was
spot,
like
man.
5 or 6 people there.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to be in there and see it. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
neat. Yeah.
So when you went to that table and
I got there and Colin Quinn was there.
Wow.
And it was Colin Quinn and like a friend of his. I don't know who that was. I had never seen him before. It was a gray-haired guy that was just like a buddy of Colin, and he was sitting at the table. And I sat down, and there's like the lineup on the table, and you order some food and stuff, and everybody's so nice there. Like, you know, the staff, like, you never even met them yet. They're like, "Evan, welcome. Like, what would you like to eat?" You know, and he's like, "What?" Like, you know, you've never been treated like this before, and it's just so, the security's tight, and it's just amazing. And I sat down with Colin, and I was like, "Hey, Colin, he was like, Evan Williams, of course, yeah, Evan Williams." He was like, "A big fan. And I was like, "Okay, you're like pretending to know who I am," because he saw like my name there, and he was like, "No, big." He's like, the famous Evan Williams, you know? And I was like, "All right, man, shut up," you know. And then he was like, "No, Evan Williams, like, you look good for 43, but you're actually 32." And he was like, "And you went to the therapist, and she had you talk to your mom in an empty chair." And you didn't think that was very, very good, so you made it a joke, and he did my entire act for me.
Holy shit!
He just did like a 5-minute version of my act for me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And he was like, "I mean it. You're really funny. Welcome to the club."
That's amazing.
And then he went downstairs and did his set, and I like looked at his friend like, "What the fuck?" And he was like, yeah, man, Colin, like, watches everybody. Like, Colin, whenever somebody gets past, like, he looks them up. He watches all their stuff. And, you know, he feels like if they're here, like, I should know who they are. And so he's a big comedy fan. Like,
and he's one of the greats of all time. You know?
He's one of the best ever.
One of the best compliments I've ever heard anybody give anybody was Chris Rock said it about Colin Quinn. He said he's the white Richard Pryor.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Whoa, that's crazy thing to say.
It's on the back of Colin's book, the coloring book.
Damn. Yeah. Colin's awesome, dude.
How did your first set go?
Amazing, man. Yeah, that was like, you know, you're so nervous for it to be good.
I'm sure.
So you're like, I mean, I was like going to therapy. Like, you know, I was like going to AA. I was just not supposed to say that on press, radio, or film. I would go to recovery meetings and get my head right and do an open mic beforehand to make sure my stage presence was there, and like just, you know, saying a little prayer, man, just like hanging out with my friends and them telling me I'm going to be great, them hanging out on the stairs, like taking pictures, like peeking out of the door, seeing if my set's going well. Everything is just, you're just so, you know, and she wasn't even down there watching me, like, but it doesn't matter. Like at the Cellar, if you have a bad set, it's like over. You know, the staff will be like, "Oh yeah, he didn't do well today," and you know, it's not over. But like, I mean, if one of your first 50 sets is bad, you're not really gonna be working there. You know, it's just the best club, man, and the highest standards.
Yeah, you have to have a high level of.
And so you're doing A every time, like, you know,
all your best
your
stuff.
First like 300 times performing there is like just A material. And
did you feel ready? The day of, did you feel like, oh shit, or was it like, I am prepared?
I did feel ready. I still had a little voice telling me I wasn't, but I knew I was ready, like, you know, deep down, and I had good friends that assured me I was, and good friends who had already been past there and were like, dude, it's just a comedy club. Like, you have this whole story around it, but when you get on stage, somebody says your name, and you get on stage, you grab a microphone, and you say hello, and you see that everybody's ready. You're just like, oh yeah, it's a comedy club and I do comedy. Like, you know, like it's true. Like if you just look at it that way, it's like, yeah, there's people who pay to see comedy and I do comedy for people who pay to see comedy. And like, you know, yeah, it was fun.
That's cool, man.
It was a fun one.
It's interesting talking about that little voice he had. Daniel and I would talk about this all the time. He's got a book that he talks about, The Untethered Soul.
Oh yeah.
And it talks about that voice in your head, and when that voice is talking to you, when you decide to listen or not listen, it's like, who's, you know, if that voice is talking to you, then is that voice you, or are you the one listening, or are you the one talking? It's all fucking, it's wild, man.
Damn. Yeah. You say you have a book? You mean you wrote a book about it? Okay,
yeah. I've written a book. It's never been published. I got to rewrite it.
Yeah.
It's shit now. It's kind of like y'all's jokes, I guess. You look back, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's called my grandfather actually said, he didn't come up with this, but he used to say ten staffel, which is essentially he used to say there ain't no such thing as free lunch, but an acronym, so there isn't any such thing as free lunch. I got to change it grammatically, I think.
No, I like it the way it is.
Yeah. So and I started that, I don't know, I was probably, I can't remember, 17, 18 years old, but yeah, it's I don't have a book.
Yeah,
I have a thing that at some point in my life I may rewrite or just start over.
I love that, man. I love that.
You're a reader, though. Yeah.
You said, yeah, I read. Thanks to my mom, I would say she probably was the initial spark to that. I was forced to read quite a bit at an early age, and then found things that I much preferred to read, and then voluntarily read those things. Mm-hmm. So I was forced to read certain things, and then during my free time I had things that I actually liked that I would choose to read. And so that habit's kind of stayed with me the whole time. But the book, The Untethered Soul, is written by Michael Singer. And I wish I would have read his second book first, because he was actually like, I would describe him as, this is not accurate, but like a hippie in the woods in Florida.
He's like an enlightened billionaire.
Yeah, but he's a billionaire. He ended up owning WebMD amongst other things. But this is like a Mother Earth loving kind of like guy. Like when you're reading the book, you would never know that he was wildly successful.
Yeah.
Right? It's
The Surrender Experiment?
Yeah, The Surrender Experiment, yep. So like if you read The Surrender Experiment, it talks about a lot of things, including there's the FBI and a raid of his facility and all kinds of stuff that's in there, which I think is awesome. And it's not for the reasons you would think. So I mean, it's really, both are a good read. The Surrender Experiment, the second book, is one that you can actually read, and if you read like me, you can read in a sitting, or say two sittings. But the first one, the Untethered Soul, is going to take you, I don't know, weeks.
Yeah,
weeks, and you could read it if you read it cover to cover in 5 hours. If you're an avid reader, it's very possible. But you're not going to.
Yeah,
it took me weeks.
I'm 3 months into it.
Yeah,
I'm halfway.
I'm probably more like that.
Yeah, it's going to rock you. I'm cautious. I said this to him. I recommend the book, but sometimes I'm cautiously recommending it because it kind of makes you think about a lot of things people will spend most of their life avoiding thinking about.
It's a lot of it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's a lot of step work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about introspection. I'm a very introspective person. I think about those things all the time, like about the voices, like, what is the voice? What are these?
Yeah.
They're, it's different than a thought, right? It's like you almost have like a debate with yourself about things, or
voices are fascinating, man. Just like trying to identify what is speaking, and like me and my buddy Greg Stone talked about the voice. Like the kind of voice that's like, you're a piece of shit, Who is that? And and I think a lot of times that voice is, and Greg calls his Larry. He has a name for it. Like, shut up, Larry. So whenever he comes in, you can be like, shut up, Larry.
Dude,
like,
that helped me so much when you told me that.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not fucking with you. About a year ago.
Credit to Greg Stone, man.
Yeah, dude, I was really working on my self-talk, and when you said Larry, it made a difference for me. It really did.
Me too, man. And but sometimes Larry is this guy that you needed once. You needed him. Like there was like a room you were about to walk into with like a heroin needle or something, And Larry was like, "You're a fucking idiot. Don't go in that fucking room, you stupid fuck. Like, get out of that room right now."
Yeah.
And you needed someone to talk to you exactly like that, or you were going to go into a room and die. But then Larry hung around, and Larry kept talking about like that about everything.
Larry's afraid of everything.
Yeah, and Larry's like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot, dude. Like, don't write a book. Like, you suck, you know?"
Yeah.
And then you eventually got to be like, "Oh, Larry, buddy, have a seat. Have a seat. My man, thank you for saving my life that one time. I needed to be talked to like that one time.
Yeah.
But I don't need to be talked to like that ever again. Like, you're doing it at the wrong times now. I need you to get the fuck out of my head, Because there's still the guy that's like, you're a piece of shit, you're a fucking idiot, and you're like, dude, I needed that once, I needed it, But now you're hurting me, man, And I just love the idea of knowing when to fire certain people,
You'd probably like that book.
I think I would. Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah.
Chapter 9 is really is a good break. It's very great. It's great information, but chapter 9 like breaks the book up a little bit because like you're getting rocked. In chapter 9, you start breathing.
Yeah,
So
and some of it's very encouraging too, though. Towards the end.
Yeah.
It's all about controlling your mind, really.
Yeah.
And some of it just accepting.
Yeah. Damn.
And learning how to be. And I've had this experience before I read the book, like a few years ago. You have this experience where you feel like you're a passenger in your mind, and there's like a part of your mind that's just quiet. It's like observing, and everything else is just like fear and thoughts and excitement and all these other things. But there's like a part of your mind, like if you're on the road and you get upset, like someone cuts you off and you get really mad, kind of this rage thing. There's a part of your mind, when that happens, if you pay attention to it, you'll be aware that there's a part of you that's just watching you lose control. And if you can kind of focus on that, that's you, and then you can sort of calm down, because the rest of it's just reaction, like it's like chemical reactions in your body causing all this aggression and anger and this primal stuff.
Yeah.
But you're still there. The conscious version of you, like the true consciousness, is still there, just observing.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be. You want to get back to that. It's like, pull it back.
Yeah.
The whole time he's talking, tell me you didn't have some self-talk going on, right?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's the part that gets me. So then like when he's saying like, it's like I'm sitting here talking, I'm having a, you know, like, and I'm like, and we're literally talking about it, and so now I'm really paying attention to it, and I'm literally thinking while I'm speaking right now. So it throws me off.
Yeah.
And it's
so
like
wild, man.
It's crazy stuff,
It is
man.
crazy.
It just and it never fucking stops.
It never
That
stops.
guy just doesn't shut the fuck
There's this
up.
thing in recovery, you know, it's like it's something people say is like the reason we need to keep coming and like keep talking about our shit is because our brain at night is like, you know, you fucking bastard, like, and then we go to sleep, and the first thing our brain says when we wake up is, and as I was saying, it's like the very first thing every morning, no matter what was said, just, and as I was saying, you're a fucking piece of shit, and you know, just like,
That's funny.
That's
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure to have you
yeah,
on the show,
man. It really has been
Yeah,
a pleasure. It's
definitely.
good to
It's
meet
been
a
awesome.
couple of Asheboro.
I know, it's weird, right?
Man, that's crazy,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, very cool.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Now let's make some fucking money.